and welcome to these afternoon sessions from the first day. We are in the panel that it's taking the name of Innovative Public Transport Models Reshaping Cities. That means that we will be looking at what are the public transportation systems in our cities, thinking to have a better service to the citizens. In Barcelona, for instance, I work for the Municipality of Barcelona. We are completely reshaping the bus transport system to become a more efficient system that is able to transport more people with the same buses. And the way we do that, it's by reshaping completely the lines and making them more legible and more easy to understand. And also we have developed a system in which by just one interchange you can access the whole every corner of the city just with one interchange, the same that normally happened with the metro system. So that would be one example on what Barcelona is working on that regard. We have a very good panelists today. We have people coming from everywhere in the world. We have people. One speaker coming from China. We have people coming from international organizations. People coming also from cities and from companies, trying to offer from the different point of view what is these challenges that public transport systems are facing in the different cities to try to make more efficient and more to transport more people with the public transport system, which is very, very important to the sustainability of our cities. So please, I will welcome the panelists now, if they can have a seat. Sí, cualquiera. This is translator. Translator. So our first panelist in this afternoon will be Mr. Dionisio Gonzalez. He comes from the UITP, the International Organization for the Public Transport. And he's an expert on transport infrastructures and services, and he also has worked as director of advocacy and outreach for the UITP, an organization that has 1,400 members companies working to promote and support sustainable public transport in cities. So please welcome Dionisio.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure for UITP being here, and for me personally, of course, being here with you to share the results, the outcome of this UMI project, Urban Mobility Innovation Index. Let me very briefly introduce you to UITP. UITP is the global worldwide association of public transport, of sustainable urban mobility, where all the different public transport actors are present, from cities to authorities, operators, industry, etc. And all the different public transport modes take part also in our association. We have 16 offices, as you can see there, 1,400 company members, 16,000 experts or contact persons, and we are present in 96 countries through our members. The project that I am presenting here to you today is a project that, as you can imagine, has been developed with a lot of collaboration with different institutions, mainly by UITP and Future Cities Catapult, under the sponsorship of Road Transport Authority in Dubai. So it's my pleasure to present it to you on behalf of our team. UITP is an active stakeholder and is the voice of public transport stakeholders on a wider and I would say a strategic point of view. So we are aware of the challenges that cities are facing every day in their single mobility, but not only in relation to mobility, but also in relation to social inclusion, accessibility, competitiveness, etc. And for that reason, we have been working with cities because they recognize really innovation as one of the main tools to achieve sustainability and to achieve livability. So the objective of this project, of this UMI index, is to provide a framework to assess the maturity of ecosystems regarding innovation in urban mobility. This project that has been developed, as I mentioned before, with Future Cities Catapult under the sponsorship of Road Transport Authority of Dubai by the UITP, the International Association of Public Transport. What's the framework? Well, we have identified 3 dimensions and 9 levers. These 3 dimensions are readiness, deployment, and livability. Readiness means whether the city has really a vision, has a comprehensive approach regarding mobility and regarding innovation in mobility. Deployment means how effectively does the city really enable for the introduction of innovative mobility systems, and livability means how well is the city prepared, how well is the city performing in terms of quality of life. Each of these 3 dimensions split or is break down into other 3 different chapters that are the 9 levers, as I mentioned before. The first one is a strategy. Does the city has really a strategy? Not only I would say a mobility strategy, but a wider urban strategy. This is something that we have evaluated. The second one is, does the city have the capability internally or through partnerships to develop this innovative approach to mobility? And the third one is soundness, the way of using the data. I mean, we are getting a lot of data, a lot of different sources of data are available, but we are not always combining and getting them to achieve some information and afterwards some knowledge. Yeah? In this sense, we have worked with different cities, and we have identified as good examples in relation to a strategy, Los Angeles and Sydney, in relation to capability, Amsterdam and Barcelona, and in relation to soundness, London and Singapore. The second dimension is deployment. And here we deal with regulation, investment, and engagement. Regulation means whether we are really prepared to facilitate innovation or where there are a lot of different barriers that are endanger the evolution and the development of this innovation. The second one is investment, not only own investment by the city, but also the way and the ability to mobilize external investment. And the third one is engagement, how deep we do take into account the needs of the citizens and the needs of the points of view of the different stakeholders. In this area, we have identified as kind of champions of kind of very good examples in regulation, Dubai and Helsinki, in investments, Hong Kong and Singapore, and in engagement, Sydney and London. And the third one is livability. Yeah? And here we have identified connectivity, well-being, and environment. Connectivity means the possibility to travel around the system with what we call seamless journeys, yeah? In an integrated manner, not only with public transport system, but also embracing other actors, other mobility players that are here. Well-being is how easy it is to travel or to move through this city in what we call healthy travel modes or active modes. And the third one is environment. Yeah? It's how well the city performs in terms of air quality, energy efficiency, etc. And here, again, some good examples are Vienna and Helsinki for the case of connectivity and mobility as a service, for instance. Well-being, where Amsterdam and Geneva has scored very well. And in environment, Lisbon and Montreal. Well, we have been working with 30 different cities all across the globe. With different economic contexts, different political situations, different stages of development. And I mean, we recognize that innovation is really contextual also, but there are some trends that could be identified at global level that are really important to highlight. Most of the data were collected through qualitative assessment, through interviews, through meetings with the different responsibles in all these 30 cities, but also we structured the information through quantitative data, through online survey, and some this research to complete the information that we get from this survey. Main findings. There is a lot to do still in terms of strategy, soundness, and regulation. I mean, technology is there, companies are there, but it's at the level of a strategy and mainly at the level of regulation where we have still a lot of work to do. On the contrary, those cities that are performing better are those that have developed the capabilities, both internally and through partnerships, and also that have their own investment or they have been able to attract the external funding for the development of these innovative solutions. The main outcomes of UMI are a UMI forum, which is a platform where these 30 cities can interchange and can benchmark their activities in relation to urban mobility. The second one is an urban mobility report that was just released last Friday. So I invite you all to have a look to the UITP website and to find this document. We are also working on a position paper to engage with decision makers, to pass the message to the main decision makers. And we are also working on future steps that are mainly the improvement of the methodology and the enlargement of the number of cities that are taking part in this UMI forum. I'm already out of time, so I thank you very much for your time and for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dionisio, for sticking so perfectly to the timing. It was very interesting, and it's very profitable to have this kind of studies in which indicators help both companies and city to have a better vision on what they can develop. Our next speaker, he's coming from China. His name is Mr. Wang Jingliang, and he's the Deputy Director of the Beijing Industry and Information Committee. Please.
尊敬的各位嘉宾，世界各国朋友们，大家下午好。非常高兴能够参加此次第7届巴塞罗那全球智慧城市博览会。在过去的6届盛会中，我们能够深刻地感受到，巴塞罗那智慧城市博览会已经成为不断引领智慧城市解决方案领域的领导型国际展会，是世界最具创新的城市。 企业、研究中心和国际组织的专家及领导聚集的最主要的会议。交通是智慧城市非常重要的应用领域。今天很荣幸代表天津，给大家做题为“重塑创新的城市和公共交通模式”的交流分享。首先，请允许我介绍一下天津这个城市。 以及天津近几年智慧城市建设的基本情况。天津地处华北平原北部，东临渤海，北依燕山，是中华人民共和国直辖市国家中心城市，环渤海地区经济中心，中国先进制造研发基地，北方国际航运核心区，金融创新运营示范区，改革开放的先行区，中国中医药研发中心，亚太区域海洋仪器检测评价中心，天津县辖16个区，截止2016年末，天津常住人口1562.12万，其中城镇人口1295.47万，城镇化率为82.9%。2016年。 天津生产总值达到了1.7885.39亿元，就是1.7万亿元。在智慧城市建设方面，“12+5”时期，天津市提出建设智能、惠民、融合、安全的智慧天津， 部署了6大行动计划，在全市智慧城市建设初具规模“十三五”时期，智慧城市建设已成为提高城市综合发展水平和竞争力的战略举措。智慧天津建设是促进新型工业化、信息化、城镇化、农业现代化同步发展的必由之路，更是推动天津经济社会发展全面转型的重要抓手。天津市先后出台了天津市智慧城市“十三五”规划、天津智慧城市建设3年行动计划等一系列的政策文件，指导和推动了全市智慧城市的建设。而今天所讲的主题“创新的城市公共交通模式”，我主要分享一下天津在新能源汽车、智能交通以及共享汽车、共享单车方面的经验做法。首先是在新能源汽车方面，“13五”以来，中国国家各部委陆续发布各类指导意见以及相应的配套政策，包括行政管理的相关政策、推广应用的相关政策、研究创新的相关政策，以及充电基础设施相关政策、税收优惠政策以及动力电池的相关的支持政策。其次是在新能源汽车推广方面，目前天津市新能源汽车保有量已经达到5万辆。在这里我们也可以看到中国新能源汽车的推广情况。截止到2017年9月，天津市新能源汽车推广的这个年度推广了9843辆，其中乘用车9142辆，客车257辆，专用车444辆。9月份单月推广了2802辆。今年1月到9月，天津市新能源汽车推广应用情况总体呈现了明显的增长趋势。同时，天津市还将在公交、出租及区域运营、城市物流、邮政快递、政府机关及公共机构、环卫、社会租赁以及网约车、非公交车以及企业私人车用等8大领域重点推广应用新能源汽车。截至目前，这些领域已经取得了一定的成绩。第三，在新能源汽车充电基础设施方面，已经覆盖到所有区县及部分高速公路，覆盖机关、企业、商场、医院、高校、居民小区、停车场等场所，并组织建设了市级的充电设施联网服务平台，方便市民使用。在社会公共充电设施充电领域，到2017年9月，新增了公共充电设施533个。1到9月份累计新建公共充电桩2169个，全市公共充电桩已经达到了6869个，其中快充桩2738个，慢充桩4131个。目前，天津发展改革、规划、电力等部门已经将充电设施及配套电网建设与改造纳入城市的建设规划，预计到2020年形成覆盖城区的便捷的充电网络，解决新能源汽车的充电难的问题。天津市范围内的各类的共享单车超过70万辆。基于共享理念，汽车版的摩拜共享汽车也在天津的这个长江道92创意园、中山门的轻轨站、东丽的居然之家、理工楼的立交桥、南开大悦城等等地方投入运营。而网约车，天津市为规范管理，也出台了网约车新规，不断形成以公共交通为主、出租汽车为补充、巡游出租车与网络预约车多样化服务方式并存的这样一个城市客运交通的新格局。同时，在智慧城市建设的智能交通领域，天津市利用大数据赋能交通管理，以交通大数据蕴藏的深度关联分析和人工智能为核心，以城市交通数据湖为基础，提供先进实战的 多元化综合交通产品的技术服务，实现交管业务平台向大数据价值挖掘、人工智能补助决策及创新应用的转型，开启了城市交通大脑新时代。就在今年的8月份，中国第13届全运会在天津召开。天津市利用汽车电子标识技术开展全国运动会赛事车辆信号优先控制和场馆出入口管理，安装了汽车电子标识。在全国运动会赛事车辆接近安装有汽车电子标识读写设备的路口时，标识卡会自动识别路口控制单元，根据优先侧列自动调节路口信号绿灯、红绿灯，确保车队顺利通畅，最大限度减少对社会车辆通行的影响。由于时间的关系最后呢，这次大会还发表了一个世界智能大会的天津宣言，参会的各方形成了智能科技革命蓬勃发展、智能科技产业升级无限、智能产业影响冲击等3方面共识。最后呢，希望能够借此契机开启智能时代下的全球合作共赢之路。谢谢大家。
Thank you very much, Mr. Jingliang, for also sticking to the timings. I was reminded that there is on the app of the Congress, the Smart City Expo app, there is a place that it's called Ask and Vote. That is used to make questions to the panel. So whatever you think you might be willing to know further of what it's been explained, you can put your question there. And then through a system of voting, you can promote that question if you think that it's also interesting for you. Thank you, Mr. Jingliang, for explaining such a complete presentation on the strategy, on this very ambitious strategy for deploying and smart cities with all its components. It was very interesting to listen. Our next speaker, he comes from the United Kingdom. He's been here many times already, but it's always interesting to listen to him again. He's the founder and managing director from Urban Foresight, and he's an expert in policy, technology, and business models for smart zero-emission cities. Please, David.
Good afternoon. I won't be talking in Mandarin today, so yeah, I think half the room will be happy about that. Perhaps half the room won't. I am CEO of a company called Urban Foresight. We are a strategy and innovation consultancy focused on future cities. As you can imagine, with a name like Urban Foresight, we spend a lot of our time thinking about the future. But I'm actually going to start looking backwards today and thinking about the past, and tell you the story of what's happened since I spoke at the first edition of the Smart City Expo back in 2011 to the present day, where in September of this year, the First Minister of Scotland announced the intention to phase out petrol and diesel-fueled vehicles from Scotland by 2032. And that's 8 years ahead of the rest of the UK. So I'll give you the kind of background and the story to how we got to that point, and talk to you about our emerging thinking in the space and how we're hoping to take things forward in Scotland. So back in 2011, we were kind of at fever pitch in terms of excitement. We were waiting for the vehicles to arrive. There was a perception that demand seemed to outstrip supply, and people were willing to pay whatever it took to get their hands on an electric vehicle. And in 2012, when we could finally buy one, we started to realize all the challenges that were involved in creating these opportunities for mass adoption of electric vehicles. So we traveled the world looking for best practice in cities to try and understand what the leading EV cities around the world were doing, and we published a report called the EV City Casebook, which is a sort of Lonely Planet guide to leading EV cities. And what we learned from this was the complexities of preparing for mass adoption of electric vehicles. the complex systems of hard and soft infrastructure that need to be implemented in cities to create opportunities for widespread use of EVs. And we took this learning into the production of a roadmap for Scotland's National Transport Agency, Transport Scotland, and tried to take a sort of systems level view of what was required to create these ecosystems for mass adoption of electric vehicles. Importantly, what we're trying to do here is to explain that it really wasn't just about recharging infrastructure or incentives, it was about creating an entire system to support widespread adoption of electric vehicles. But we recognized that we were at the very foot of the S-curve for mass adoption, so we were very much focused on what we could do to launch and then grow markets for electric vehicles. And of course, you can't take it for granted that you will reach the point where you have mass adoption of electric vehicles. So the challenge for us was really to try and work out how we could cross the chasm to the point where we had technology enthusiasts or committed environmentalists that were driving electric vehicles, to the point where we had mainstream adopters driving around in ultra-low emission vehicles. So we went back on our travels again and traveled the world looking for more what we called big ideas. And for us, these were the technologies, the policies, the business models that were going to help us bridge that gap between today and that future electric vehicle adoption. And a big learning point from that was understanding the role of cities and local incentives to create these ecosystems for mass adoption and the various assets and powers that local governments have to support adoption of electric vehicles. And partly as a result of deploying these incentives, we started to see things picking up in 2016. So this is global adoption of electric vehicles. You'll see that we reached the 2 million point worldwide in terms of numbers of cars on the road. And pleasingly, you start to see the start of that S-curve in terms of takeoff. So when we sat down again in 2017 to work out how to take forward our roadmap into its second phase, we started to think about that challenge of growing markets for electric vehicles and in exactly what we needed to do. And this is what we came up with. So to talk through this in its entirety, the starting point for us was realizing the outcomes that we were trying to achieve, the sort of tests that we wanted to see demonstrated when we were trying to make a decision on whether we would do something or not. And this came down to three key things, three key outcomes that we were looking to achieve. We were looking to decrease the cost of using electric vehicles. We were looking to enhance the convenience of electric vehicles. And importantly, we were trying to engineer that cultural change, that behavior change required to make the switch to ultra-low emission vehicles. The second thing was realizing that a lot of the work that we'd been doing had been around establishing the enabling conditions for electric vehicles, making it possible for people to use electric vehicles in Scotland. But actually the challenge that we faced was to move beyond that to a point where people enjoyed using electric vehicles, or it was desirable or super convenient to use electric vehicles. So we started thinking about that in terms of a product development stack or a hierarchy of needs, and recognized that we had to move from enabling infrastructure up to e-mobility services and a platform of services type approach. And the objective beyond that is to go from those services to specific applications of electric vehicles where we can start demonstrating and realizing tangible benefits to individuals, to organizations and communities across Scotland. We identified a series of actions to focus our investments and activity. And the one that I want to specifically single out is this concept of EV charging hubs, because I think it really embodies this approach and this way of thinking about electric mobility. So an EV charging hub is many different things to many different people, but essentially it is a place where you can charge multiple electric vehicles at once, and it typically integrates a range of different facilities and services and infrastructure, be that for car sharing, for cycling, be that for integration with public transport, maybe even some retail or leisure facilities as part of that premises as well. Urban Foresight has spent quite a lot of time over the last 18 months undertaking commercial strategies and feasibility studies for EV charging hubs across the UK. I don't have time to go through that in too much detail, but just to single out a few different pointers to take into account. First is to recognize the opportunity to provide more than just EV charging infrastructure and range of facilities, and the challenges that exist around forecasting demand and developing long-term commercial business models ahead of the vehicles being on the road. And the other thing that we're doing is we run a living lab in a city in Scotland called Dundee. So we're currently building 3 of these hubs in the city, but we're also looking to innovate. And we have a call for innovative proposals where we're looking for smart mobility solutions that we can help you to test and demonstrate in the city. So we have £1 million to invest in these projects, so please do come and talk to me if you have any good ideas. So in terms of 3 closing thoughts. First is around cost. So electric vehicles, as you'll see from this graph, are becoming cheaper. The important message here is not only are battery costs decreasing and energy density increasing, but the technologies that are in the R&D stage are getting cheaper and more effective. However, we also need to consider the cost to the public purse and the capital asset write-off required to create viable operating models for EV infrastructure. The second is around convenience and the objective to make it enjoyable, fun, and desirable to use electric vehicles in cities and have a more service provision approach to electric vehicle infrastructure operation. And the final big one is around culture change, recognizing that ultimately what we're trying to do is encourage people to make different and better decisions about how they move around cities. That may be personal transport, but it may be other ways. And the electric vehicle is merely an enabler of that change, and we have to think about how we can bring it about. Thank you very much for your time.
Amazing. He made the clock at 008 minutes, so that's very good. Thank you very much for your presentation again. He's combining a little bit the topics that we were seeing in the 2 previous presentations. So we were seeing indicators in the first one, a city deployment of a smart strategy in the second one. Here, he's focusing on the deployment of the electric vehicle in what is necessary to have a successful strategy to really have more electric vehicles circulating in our streets, and he puts the highlight in the costs and the infrastructure, in the service and the convenience, and also in the necessary cultural changes that need to occur. That's very it's very challenging and sometimes difficult from the urban administrations to help and to foster that cultural change. Okay. Our next speaker, he comes from Alstom. He's the innovation manager there at Alstom. He will be, he's dealing at the Alstom Digital Mobility with the open innovation ecosystem, which means that he deals with the multimodal transport solutions that Alstom is developing, and he will be.
Because actually, mobility, if we talk about mobility, we need to think about the passenger. Mobility is passenger-centric. And if we move to the new paradigms like mobility as a service and of course, multimodal, there's something missing now. And what is, we believe that coordination among all these solutions, these possibilities, is what we're missing. So that's why we brought about Mastria. Mastria is our multimodal orchestrator, mobility overlay for coordination in a city or in a region. I can give you an example with an orchestra. You can think of an orchestra playing a symphony, and of course every musician knows very well how to play their instrument, knows their score that's in front of them, but they're missing something. They're missing, for once, what's happening on the other side of the orchestra is something wrong there. They're missing also the general beat. And that's the mission of the conductor. The conductor is not playing the instrument. The musicians know very well how to play their instruments, but it gives the general beat, it coordinates everything. So now I'm going to show you, if it works, hopefully, a video with some use cases of Mastria. See, somewhere here should be the play, here. There.
Central Station, 9:12 a.m. Something unexpected is happening on Line 5. The metro has come to a standstill. At the Metro Control Centre, the security post has triggered the alarm. A camera has detected people on the tracks. The power is immediately cut, The traffic will be stopped for at least an hour. 5 streets away, at the Mastria Operations Centre, people already know about it. Indeed, when the Metro agent stopped Line 5, the alert was automatically triggered, and this message is blinking in red on the screen. Here they keep an eye on all the city's transport networks, coordinating them like a conductor. In less than a minute, Mastria's algorithms had already devised steps to prevent bottlenecks, adapting the city's traffic, reorganizing it, and managing the incident itself. The Mastria operator receives the procedure to be followed. He just has to choose from among several options. He selects bus, commuter trains, passenger information, maintenance for any damage to the rails, police, and the fire department. Each of these players receives an alert in real time through their operations center connected to Mastria. Bus frequency is increased and the commuter trains get ready for a massive influx of passengers. At the station, the agents provide passengers with updates and alternatives. Maintenance is already on site. In just 1 hour, thanks to Mastria, Metro is finally able to get going again. 10:30 a.m. on another day, Mastria receives a message from the city's weather service. Heavy snow is expected in 3 days' time, with temperatures down to -10 degrees Celsius. Based on the data it collects every day, Mastria knows that commuters will be reluctant to drive their cars. So, the algorithms prepare a crisis plan. This process involves increasing transport capacity. The bus, metro and train companies are alerted, and Mastria lets them know how much they must each increase their traffic. Mastria prevents a disruption even before it happens. It can also plan in the longer term for a concert scheduled in the city or a major sporting event. Thanks to Mastria, the bus, metro and tram services will be forewarned that they'll need to provide extra capacity. Mastria also alerts private ride-sharing and city bike services so that all contribute to smooth traffic. More than a simple tool, Mastria is becoming a real partner for cities. It guarantees all of us smooth traffic in the city, now and in the future.
Okay. With this, you see more or less what we're trying to focus with Mastria. I'll try to go a little bit in detail. I have very little time on how we do that. We've built what we call value layers because, of course, every city is different, every region is different, so we need to adapt. The first layer is information, of course. We can show every piece of data that we can gather, how the transport is moving, what's happening, incidents, everything, so you can actually see what's happening. On top of that, we can do analytics to understand actually why those things are happening. This is an example of a city we did with some regulation, but we can do diagnostics and predictive analytics also. And of course, once you know what's happening and why it's happening, you need to act. Not only in the long term, but you would like to act in the short term, trying to provide solutions as the video explained. This, of course, is a very, very quick snap of what Mastria is doing. I have no time to go in detail, but I wanted to tell you that tomorrow, at the press room, which is right by the entrance at the south door, we will be holding a demo session through the whole morning of our digital mobility products, which of course include Mastria. You can go there, see, touch, and ask questions, but also Urban Map or our security digital solutions like Iconic Security or video analytics. And that's all for me. I think I was even closer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Álvaro. That was very interesting to see also how, I mean, if this has happened from many years already, that automotive industry have already changed their discourse, and they are not providing only cars, but they are providing mobility services, or they are at least trying to to explain that that is what they are doing. It is good to see also that the main public transport infrastructure companies are also seeing themselves as part of a mobility system that has a much more complex itinerary or a trip for everyone, that it's not just composed by just one mean of transport, but it's part of a trip that combines a bicycle, a private vehicle, public transport, some part that you can be walking, and they try, of course, to be part of that way of making your trips around the city, and also keeping your industry the public transportation working at all times. So thanks for that explanation. Our last speaker for this panel this afternoon is Nico Anten. He's the managing director from Connect ITS Netherlands, which is he's a long-term strategy managing director at that company. He's in charge of linking more than 100 private and public organizations through its mobility and transport. So thank you for coming and for your explanation.
Well, good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be in Barcelona. Outside, the sun is shining, and always when I'm here in Barcelona, the sun is shining. And if you live in the Netherlands, that is something you really can value. So I'm happy to be here. If you have been in the Netherlands and you travel there, one of our writers once said, traveling in the Netherlands is very peculiar. If you want to drive, you're standing still in a traffic jam. But on the other hand, if you want to stand still, if you want to park your car, you just keep on driving to find a parking spot. So I think that is a challenge we have. How can we make sure that our mobility will become smooth and sustainable, and making that way our cities very livable? Well, by the introduction, Connect was already introduced, so I will skip this slide. These are images from cities today. And today's cities, people are living there. They want to work there. If they go to their jobs, they want to travel fast, they want to travel safe. They don't want to get stuck in the traffic jam. But also they want to entertain themselves. But on the other hand, they also want that the air in their city is clean. And they also want that when they order something via the internet, that it is delivered fast. And when they go to a shop, that everything is there and they don't have to wait or when things are out of order. And in a way, all those modern demands of people living in a city are competing with each other. And I think our challenge is, how can we make the system that smooth that it will, in the end, can address all the needs of modern people. And one characteristic in the Netherlands about traveling is the following. Already for more than 60 years, people are willing to travel about, let's say 70 to 90 minutes a day. And since traveling became faster and smoother, it meant that people do not live in cities anymore, but also they spread around, increasing more and more demand for mobility. And we have to address this challenge. And one thing I did not mention on the previous slide is the fact that we need clean air. Since 2 weeks, there's a new government in the Netherlands, and the government will make a climate law, and they will say we will put in law everything we agreed to in Paris 2 years ago. And it means for the Netherlands that the pollution produced by vehicles, by lorries, by trucks, by vans, has to be reduced by a factor of 6 if we really want to comply to these goals. This is a huge challenge. And the only thing we can meet this challenge and arrive with it is when we really change the way we think and we change the way we organize, and we need to make a lot of use of technology. And one concept I like to talk about is mobility as a service. It was already mentioned by the previous speaker. And wouldn't it be great that all the different ways you can travel, whether it's a Uber, whether it's a public transport company, whether it is a bicycle, whether it is your own car or a bus, that it would be organized in a very easy way for you, so that you don't have to figure it out all for yourself. Because if it's too complex, you will just keep to continue to use the thing you are happy with. So if you used to drive a car, it is easy for you not to change when the change is made complex for you. But if you can make this change easy, that would be a solution. And that is the aim of mobility as a service. How can we organize our mobility in a different way? There are several levels of the way you can organize mobility as a service, and already quite some companies and in quite some countries there's been a lot of experience how you can influence the way people think about mobility and if they want to make a shift. And it is interesting that by experience in Finland, that it proved that when you offered a better service to people and you charged them a fair price, that people changed their behavior, not only for the test period, but they continued in changing their behavior. It shows if you organize things in a better way, you can really change the behavior of people. And we don't know what the future of mobility as a service will be. There are three different models. On the left-hand side, you see the winner takes it all. That is the way now how Facebook or Alibaba or Amazon or Apple is working. If you're the first one and if you are the best one, there's hardly any competition. The other model, which could be the one, is that the public transport companies will take their responsibility and that they will start to organize mobility as a service. But personally, to my humble opinion, I don't think that will be the future because it really means that you, as a public transport company, you have to rethink the way you organize everything. So the third model, and I think from a consumer point of perspective, that will be the best one, is when there will be multiple service providers, meaning that like your own telephone, that if you travel from one city to another city, your technology, your app on your telephone just changed from one provider to another one. You don't have to think about it. It is all organized for your and more service providers also means that there will be competition. So as a consumer, it will offer us the best price. But for this, we need to change the way we think. There is a bit of a downside if we improve mobility. And one downside was tested in Lisbon by one of our members, PTV. And if you organize mobility in a better way and you make it more seamless, then the downside is that people are going to travel more. So it does not mean that organizing things in a better way will reduce travel. So that you have to keep that also in mind. But on the other hand, better used modes of transport also means that you need less of them. So we also will get our streets back. What we need in the end is, if we want to make a success of mobility as a service, we need three shifts: a changing role of collaboration. Public and private authorities need to collaborate together. Companies need to collaborate together. What we also need is a changing role of the commuters. We need to get rid of the idea that we need to own our own car. No, we have to make a shift from owning to make use of. And the third shift you have to make is another way of how we make use of systems and technology. Technology should be everywhere. It should be based on open standards. We need a lot of security. And we also have to make the technology simple in a way that it will stimulate, in the end, innovation. But that was, in brief, my ideas about mobility as a service. Thank you for your attention.
Vale, estas son las preguntas. Now we will have, well, thank you very much for your presentation. That was very interesting too, to see how these mobility as a services can help us all to have a more convenient transport and mobility in cities through collaboration between public and private partners, through sharing the means of transport and through the technology that have to facilitate all these systems. Now we will have questions and answers. First, well, there are two microphones, one microphone here. So if anyone has a question, please just stand up and come here and make your questions. And I also have gathered well, we have gathered through this app system some questions that I will be now asking to the panelists. So the first one that got more votes is asking regarding the battery life in electric vehicles. Will battery life ever be great enough to allow vehicles, especially those involved in public transport, to be able to do a full day's work? So maybe, well, both for, I guess, we can ask this referring to taxis or to buses, but whoever in the panelists feel that can answer this.
Is this microphone on? Yeah. So yeah, electric vehicles are suitable for many applications today, including taxis and logistics vehicles. So the range is achievable. Batteries can be as big as you want them to be. You just have to pay more for bigger batteries. So there is no perceivable difficulty. We also know how far people travel. So we understand that most journeys that are made are within the traveling distance of the vast majorities of journeys that are made today. In terms of degradation, so how the battery performance decreases over time, we've had electric vehicles driving in the wild for a long time now, and we, on the whole, haven't seen much appreciable degradation of batteries. So it's not something we're concerned about. Most vehicle manufacturers offer warranties to accompany batteries of up to 9 years or so. So yeah, electric vehicle battery degradation isn't a big problem at the moment.
Another point of view? Maybe. Well, and we have another question. What is the most demanding area for innovation in public transport? It is payments, it is passenger information, it is accessibility, trip planning, maybe something else?
Well, I think that they all, but one very important thing is skills of the people that is working now in public transport and on mobility. Yeah? Mm-hmm. This is something that we have to work a lot, because at the end technology is somewhere there, more or less advanced in the different countries, in the different places. But one thing that we are working now very deeply with the different operators and authorities is to develop this talent and these skills that are needed to really achieve the new challenges of digitalization, the use of data, etc. on public transport. Yeah?
Thank you. Now Álvaro from Alstom.
Yes, yeah, I would say that for me at least, the most important innovation way now is the changing paradigms. We need to change. We shouldn't do what we've been doing for many years in a different way. We should try, because digital and other things enable us to do things different, like mobility as a service, for instance. So I think the most interesting and challenging thing is how to change really the paradigms of mobility.
And now one question coming from myself. We have, many of us in our presentations have talked about the necessity of fostering the cultural change. What do you think that this cultural change might come from? I mean, it is which collaboration it is needed between public and private organizations? What is the role of citizenship in this cultural change that can happen. What, from your point and from your organization, can help in this necessary cultural change that we need to have a more sustainable urban mobility paradigm. I mean, if we want people to share more of their vehicles, if we want them to use more public transport and maybe to use more electric vehicles that they are using, it is something that we can explain. It is something that we can enforce through regulation. It is something that we can put a congestion or a emission tax. What do you think are the necessary things to develop to have this necessary cultural change?
Well, I think telling and showing, so just show that it works. So I think it is good that the government should invest in new ways of mobility, and that the industry then also should take the responsibility. And if it works, that they will foster these new solutions. And I think what also is very helpful, the way mobility is now organized, is from a broader point of view just done for financial reasons. So if you would really change the way you pay taxes, then you could also foster the change of behavior. So given a financial impulse, and makes it also from a financial point of view seamless.
Okay. Interesting point of view. Yes, please. Well, we have to just one more minute.
Okay, no, just quickly. I think someone said that people don't hate change. People hate being changed.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I think what we need is to make things easy for people so they really want to become part of the change. If we make them, it may work for a time, but we need to find a way to convince people that this is the right way and it's easier and better for them.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our time is up for this afternoon. Just to highlight what we've been talking through this session, we've talked about indicators, strategy, infrastructures, and services. We've talked about cultural change and the complexity of linking public and private stakeholders in the city to make a more sustainable city in which the public transport is better and more used. The means of transport are shared, and we have a greater degree of utilization of the electrical vehicle. All this is very complex. We know all of us are working close to cities, and we see year by year what are the model splits that we get in our cities, and they are changing very, very slowly, while the alarms of the climate change and the effects that the emissions of the current mobility means are having in our health are showing us that we don't have that much time to actually make this change happen. So thank you for your work in changing our cities and improving them in the way we use them, and to make them less pollutant and are more sustainable. Thank you for your work. And give a hand to the panelists.